This is IGN. Amanda Seyfried is Mother. This is your IGN review of The Testament of Anne Lee by Siddhant Adlakha. A musical biopic fittingly composed of religious ballads, The Testament of Anne Lee chronicles the life of its eponymous 18th century religious leader, played with tremendous passion by Amanda Seyfried. It spans several decades and traces Anne's travels from Manchester to New York, as well as the newly invented religious dogmas that guided her journey. It's a film of spiritual ecstasy that lives on the edge of realism, for better and for worse, while mythologizing an oft-forgotten historical figure whose unusual beliefs about celibacy had altruistic ends, making for a particularly compelling experience. Directed by the brutalist co-writer Mona Fastvold and co-written by that film's director and other co-writer Brady Corbett, The Testament of Anne Lee arrives with all the lush historical detail you'd expect, made even more inviting by William Rexer's 70mm cinematography. It begins with a decontextualized vista of women in bonnets and religious robes moving rhythmically in the woods in the late 1700s. This image, removed from time, is all that's known to most people about the United Society of Believers in Christ's Second Appearing, also known as the Shakers, a particularly enduring Christian sect. Their numbers recently rose to 3. Anne was once their prophet, one of the rare female figures of such importance at the time. One of these dancing women, Mary Partington, played by Thomasin McKenzie, is both a key supporting character in the film as well as its narrator, providing conflicting accounts of Anne's life, but ultimately deciding which parts of her story are worth telling and believing. It's a film about the reinterpretation of a doctrine that is itself reinterpreted for the audience by a woman invested in making Anne, affectionately called Mother by her worshippers, seem like the second coming. Regardless of what the filmmakers themselves believe, for example, Fastvold was raised in a secular household, they present The Testament of Anne Lee as though it were an article of faith, making it particularly intoxicating. In her childhood and early adult years, Anne is seen to have a complicated relationship with her body and beliefs, from her revulsion towards sex to the movie's sudden flashes of visceral biblical imagery. Brief inserts of Renaissance paintings depicting Eden feature particularly phallic snakes. As she molds her own outlook, she and her supportive brother William, played by Lewis Pullman, join the Shakers in their early days, attending closed-door meetings involving confessions in the form of song, and exercising sin through writhing and rhythmic thumping. It's a time of great religious upheaval. Methodism has just been born, the Church of England is entwined with state power and cruel penalties, and the Shakers worship in secret. After marrying fellow congregant Abraham, played by Christopher Abbott, Anne's experimentations with sex and BDSM leave her spiritually unfulfilled. As the years go by, she bears 4 different children, all of whom die before the age of 1, resulting in a pervading grief that informs the way she eventually reshapes the Shaker Church. The film frames Anne's mourning as not only a key to her rejection of carnal impulse, but the foundation of her self-proclaimed divinity. Her visions, she claims, come to her in moments of mania, like when she's imprisoned for her beliefs and likely ill and dehydrated. However, the film finds no need to employ a skeptical lens to its chronology. Instead, the camera buys into Lee's theological stature, and the frame becomes enraptured by the Shakers' ritualistic motions, capturing worshippers in alternating close-ups and panoramas as they beat their chests with open palms. The songs and movements, drawn from real Shaker music, are acoustically addicting, even when the people singing don't have particularly dulcet tones. Your mileage may vary, but this is part of the film's commitment to naturalistic performance. Not every churchgoer would be a professional singer, though each member of the flock is fully devoted to Anne's premonitions of a better world, free from tyranny and cruelty. It's not hard to agree with her objective, even if the notion of lifelong celibacy seems strange or self-defeating. The film's ensemble is wonderfully fine-tuned, especially Tim Blake Nelson and Jamie Boggio as elder churchgoers who, in a decision that feels almost countercultural despite the Shakers' conservative constraints, yield to the word of a young woman. This faith eventually leads the Shakers across the Atlantic to the New World, where they remain largely apolitical, but invite the consequences of doing so during the Revolutionary War. However, as Anne's convictions grow stronger, Abraham wavers, testing each of their commitments to the cause of an abstract utopia with no clear path beyond what Christ allegedly tells her. Despite its narrative shortcomings and some questionable decisions about who sings, The Testament of Ann Lee makes for an inviting historical musical about the power of faith. Amanda Seyfried leads a commendable ensemble with her devoted performance as a woman whose grief scabs over into unshakable faith, resulting in earworm numbers and enrapturing rhythms born of characters trying to imagine a better world. The Testament of Ann Lee's IGN score? 8 out of 10. Thanks for listening to IGN. My name is Tony Jackson, and for the latest updates on The Testament of Ann Lee, visit us at IGN.com.
Spoken Layer.